Hi guys, and welcome back to another video game with Powers. I'm Jake.
I'm Sierra.
And in today's video, we're going to be showing you guys how to play and giving our thoughts and opinions on a game called the City of Myrkesh. Alright, this is coming to you from Dragon Egg Games and designed by Mark Wilson. This game will be launching. This is a preview copy of the game. And this game will be launching on Kickstarter on October 24th, so be sure to check the link down in our description if you are interested in this game. Before we dive into this game, guys, I do want to say that this is not a paid promotion by any means. We're very lucky and fortunate that Mark Wilson decided to send us a review copy of this game, and so we just want to give a huge shout out to him and say thank you so much for giving this opportunity. So, as always, guys, before we kind of dive into it, we're going to go ahead and jump down to the table. I'm going to show you guys how to play City of Myrkesh and show you what a couple turns might look like, throw in some extra cards that you might see, and then we'll be back up top here for our review. Alright guys, so we are down here at the table where we have everything set up for a playthrough of City of Myrkesh. Before I dive into how to play and teach you guys, I just want to note again that this is a review copy of the game, so everything you see here is a prototype. Everything is not final and subject to change throughout the course of the Kickstarter campaign and even therefore after. But let's dive into City of Myrkesh. Let me show you guys how to play, how it works, and teach you the game, alright? The overall premise of the game, guys, is that you are going to be like any deck builder, playing cards from your hand and gaining resources, okay? These resources are going to be gold, fight, and or attack, and speed, okay? You're going to be using these different resources to, gold, obviously, to buy coins, fight or attack to attack the monster, and speed to move around the board, and sometimes you might need to spend speed in order to buy a card if there is rubble in there, and we'll get into that, all right? So I'm going to take the monster out from the middle here, and we're going to talk about the things that you can do on your turn. So there's a couple different things you can do on your turn. You can play a card vertically in your area. You can play a card horizontally in your area. You can spend that speed to move around the board. You can buy a card and you can attack a monster, all right? So let's start from the very top, playing a card from your hand vertically, okay? This is going to be the standard in all deck builders of what you're going to do. So you will just play the card straight up in front of you and you will gain all of the bonuses or read all of the effects on that card. So for example, this soldier that I got here, I'm gaining 1 attack, all right? That is playing that card vertically. Now, throughout the course of the game, as you collect more cards, you might have some, like this esoteric seraph, that in the bottom right-hand corner, it's going to have some extra symbols. What that means is if you play a card of that district, you will also be able to gain that bonus. So when playing this card, I would read this entire section and get that effect. And then let's say I had this card from the Industrial Grounds District, which is right here, I would then be able to get all of this effect as well. So this is a good way to stack different cards together with different districts. Now, down here, there's going to be actually 3 different symbols. There's going to be a solid symbol, which represents just playing a card of that district. There's going to be a symbol that's going to require a certain amount of resources. So once you hit a certain amount of resources, you'll be able to gain that bonus. And the last one is there's going to be like a card, and it's going to be discarding that card from your hand will get you that bonus as well, all right? So that is playing a card vertically, standard deck builder rules, all right? The next way is you can play a card horizontally in your area. When you do this, you will ignore all of the effects on the card, and you will gain 1 speed. However, that card that you play horizontally will still count for effects that have to deal with other cards. So for example, like I said with this card, instead of playing this card vertically, I could play this card horizontally, get the speed, but still get the bonus for this card as well. All right. So those are playing the card vertically, playing the card horizontally. All right. Let's talk about speed. So you're going to have a player piece, and you're going to be moving your player piece around the board in these different circles. All right. This speed is going to be able to help you do this. So for every one speed, you'll be able to move one space to the left or right. So I spend a speed. I can move either one space to the left or one space to the right. All right. So that is essentially the third thing I can do on my turn. Moving into the fourth thing on my turn, buying a card, okay? So you'll notice that there are a front card and then a back card with the decks. Now, in this example, you might notice I have two decks over here to the side in an actual playthrough of a game. We'll look down here at the bottom at this industrial grounds area. This deck will be right here off the board a little bit. But for the purpose of the example, because it's going to be cut off on the screen here, I'm going to move it to the side. But in a standard game, this would be hanging off the board, okay? So you have a front area and a back area. The front area is called the inner city. The back area is called the outer city. So depending on where you're at is going to be able to determine what cards you can buy, okay? So we'll start first here. You have these circles that are in between districts. So if I'm here, these are denoted by cobblestone areas. When I am in this area, I am only allowed to buy these inner city cards, right? The arrows are going to point to the cards that you're able to buy. So I can either buy this card or this card, all right? You are able to buy as many cards as you want to on your turn. So if I had 7 gold, I could buy both these cards into my deck, right? Whenever you buy a card, it will go straight into your discard pile unless noted otherwise, all right? When a card is bought, a card will not refill into the area until the end of your turn, all right? And at the end of your turn, what would happen if nobody bought this outer city card? This card would drop down into the inner city, and then you would flip over a new card on top of the deck of the outer city, okay? But that is the cobblestone area is going to allow you to only buy cards on the inner city. In order to buy cards on the outer city, you must be on the solid arrows, okay? So if you'll see here, I'm going to move this card. You see you got the solid arrow that's allowing you to buy this card, and then you'll see this long arrow with another solid arrow here. So this is going to allow me to buy the card in the outer city, all right? Here's what's interesting about this. Depending on where the monster is facing, so there is a front arc or like a U shape of the monster where it's the head, the right side, and the left side. If any one of these sides, or what's considered the front arc, is in that district that you are buying this outer city card from, then you must place a rubble token in that city. So if the monster was facing this way, facing head on, or facing that way, and I bought an outer city card from the undercity, I would have to place a rubble token out, all right? A rubble token, what this does is it's going to require you to spend a speed anytime you want to buy a card. So on top of having to pay 2 coins, I would also need to pay 1 speed in order to buy a card, all right? So that is the rubble token. All right, that is buying a card, all right? So again, depending on where you are at on the board, you're only allowed to buy certain cards, and then when you buy a card in the outer city, you create that rubble. If there's 2 rubble tokens already out, you will simply just take one from another district, your choice, and put it in the district that you bought the card from. They will not refill until the end of your turn. All right, the last thing we got, guys, is attacking the monster, all right? So you can see here there is 5 different sides of the monster: the head, the void maw, some thick flesh on both backsides, and the plague maw. So let's go through the steps of attacking the monster. So first, depending on what side you're on, you're either going to do full damage or get damage reduced by 1 unless you spend 1 speed. So basically, if you're trying to hit him from the back on this thick flesh part, he's got a little bit of armor there. So if you want to continue with your attack, it's going to get reduced by 1. However, if you spend 1 speed, and then you will negate that shield, all right? Anywhere else, you're just doing straight damage, okay? Let's say I'm hitting them from the front here. So the first thing you'll do is count how many damage you're doing. So let's say I'm hitting them for 5, all right? So the monster's health is up here, denoted by these blue cubes in the top left-hand corner. You would take 5 blue cubes, which counts as 5 victory points, and you'll put them in your area, all right? Then now we're going to go through some steps for the monster. So I'm going to put him to the side and pull out this little sheet here that we are provided with. So the first thing we're going to do is look at this top section right here called knockback, all right? If I have dealt 4 or more damage, I'm going to ignore this knockback, all right? But if I have dealt 3 or less damage, we have to encounter knockback. What that means is now we're going to go over here to the right side and check and get some wounds and some negative effects, all right? So depending on where we hit is what wound cards we're going to take. We have 3 different wound cards. We have a light wound card, a heavy wound card, and a bleeding wound card, okay? Anytime you take a wound card, you must put them in your discard pile unless the card denotes on your deck, okay? So depending on where you hit, so if you hit the front, you're taking a light wound and a bleeding wound. The Void Maw and Plague Maw side are taking a heavy wound, and the Thick Flesh, you just take a light wound, all right? On top of that, each side is going to have an additional effect. So, for example, if you hit the head, you'll place the top card of your deck into your discard pile. So again, remember that is only if you do 3 or less damage to the monster. If you hit him for 4 or more, you're going to ignore this effect, okay? In regards to the wound cards, they're all just going to serve as hindrances except for this light wound card here, which is going to allow you to do something called a heal, which is going to allow you to remove cards from your deck in order to cycle through your cards faster, all right? Back to the monster. So that was the first thing we're checking. Then the next thing we're checking is, depending on how much damage you did, we got to count these 3 other steps. So if you've done 3 or more, 2 or more, or 1 or more damage, you will activate all of these. So in my example, I hit him for 5. So I would activate the Create Rubble step, the Crowd Retreat step, and the Provoke step, okay? However, in let's say another scenario, I only hit him for 1. Again, I would take the appropriate wound cards, and then I would just do the Provoke step, which is rotating the monster to face me in that direction, okay? So that is attacking the monster and some of the resistance that you will encounter based on the damage that you've done to the monster during that step, okay? If at any point, let's say, for example, you would attack them in the back and you only did 1 damage and that got reduced to 0, you just end the step, the monster step, right there. All right, so once you've played all your cards and done everything that you need to do, then you will end your turn. You'll refill any rows that need to be refilled, and then you will draw back up to 5 or shuffle your deck and draw back up to 5 as such. And again, you're just going to be switching turns until the monster's health is reduced to 0 and everybody has got an equal number of turns. And the player with the most prestige, honor, and victory points from your cards is going to be the winner of the game. So just a quick example, let's just say I'll show you a quick example of how a turn would work. Basic Primitive rules, so like right here, I gain 1 fight, I get 2 coins here, and then I should get 3 coins, and then I have a peasant so I could move. So for me, let's just say, for example, I was here in this area, right? What I could do is play my peasant horizontally to gain a speed, use that speed to move into this area here, and then I could spend these 3 coins right here in order to gain this card from the outer city, all right? And if the monster was facing me, let's say he was facing me, I would create some rubble here in this spot. So this card would go straight into my discard pile. Nothing would flip over yet. And then I have 1 fight left over. So let's say I wanted to fight the monster here. So I'm dealing 1 damage. I take 1 cube. All right, now we check the step, right? So I did not do 4 or more. So I would take a light wound card and a bleeding wound card into my discard pile. I would take the top card of my deck, which would be right here. This would go into my discard pile. All right, and then since I hit him for 1, I would provoke him, and so he would still be facing me in my direction. So that's how a full turn would look. Sometimes turns can get very heavy, so they have provided you with like a resource tracker board, which is awesome and comes in handy. All right, guys. Well, look, that is essentially the basics of City of Myrkesh. I hope that was clear and concise, and you guys understood it and got to see how the flow of the game works. Let's go ahead and jump back up top, where me and Sierra are going to talk about our thoughts and opinions and review of the game. All right, guys. So we are back up here, ready to give our thoughts and opinions on the game, City of Myrkesh. All right. So Sierra, what are your thoughts on the game? Let's just talk about it mechanically, how it feels as a deck builder, and some things that you really enjoyed and liked about the game here.
Yeah. So I like deck builder games. And this was like an interesting take, a new take. I don't feel like we've done a deck builder where it's also kind of co-op, where you're fighting a monster in the middle, and then you've got like multiple decks that you can kind of be building out of. So I really liked the game, besides the fact that I beat his butt in it. But I like that the decks are kind of like specific to what they do. So the green deck was gonna do a lot of attack damage to the monster. The gray deck gets you a lot of gold or coins to be able to buy more things. Jake knows better what each of the other ones do. But when we played, I tended to go for gray and green, and once I had enough gray, I just mainly went for green and just try to do all the damage to the monster that I could. And it was interesting to like be able to pick and choose kind of how you're building your deck, but also like finding a way for me to like my strong suit of my deck, I guess.
Yeah.
Which was the attacking for me. And then I liked the counters. I think that was a really cool way to do it. And I liked how you also were getting the I forgot what these are called.
Status token sheet.
The statuses.
Status token sheet, yeah.
Yeah, so you'd be earning statuses, or you didn't want them. Most of them are bad, I think, or all of them are. But you'd be giving status tokens to other people, and it just puts an interesting like spin on the game. I think it was really easy to learn and like pick up and play as we got going. I know you said we did one or two small things wrong. It was our first time with the game and the rules of learning it. But I really liked it, and how there's different types of wounds you can take depending on how you're hitting them on. Like, it all makes sense to the game, like the theme of the game and everything. You're not gonna just be hitting one side of a monster when you're actually fighting it, and not having anything happen. So it's like you provoke the monster. It turns like if you hit it in its backside,
the thick flesh. The thick flesh is what they call it.
And you turn it and things like that. Like, I like that style of gameplay that is very kind of realistic in a way that it's how it would be if we were actually fighting and playing.
For sure. So you hit on you hit on a lot of great points. You talked about difficulty, that it really wasn't too difficult to learn. What did you feel about the replayability? Do you feel like there's a lot of replayability here with the game?
Yeah, I think so. I think the thing that's going to be hard for me in replaying it is that I'm going to want to keep building the green deck, because I realized how good it was for me.
Right.
But the fact that the cards are really different and they change up the game, personally, I would try to go for other things and just seeing the different ways to win with like a heavy gray deck or a heavy, because you mix it up. I think when we played, you were very much mixing up what you got.
Well, we found, I think, and you probably agree with me on this, we found really it's probably best to just stick to 2 decks.
Yeah.
Or 2 city districts is what they call it in the game. I think if you go any more into more than 2 just specific decks, you're going to kind of run into trouble, because what she was saying is each deck is going to have its own specific thing that they do really well, right? And so you have 5 of them. There's a green deck, which is pretty much all about doing damage and raw power. You have a blue deck, which is all about giving your opponent status effects, or stealing victory points from your opponents, or using cards from your opponent to gain an advantage. You have a deck that's all about generating more gold so you can buy more cards. You have the gray deck, which is all about drawing cards and card draw. And then you have the purple deck, which is there's another victory point system in the game called prestige points. And they're really good at that prestige points and then kind of like a balance type of thing. But we've really found that if you just stick to do decks, you're going to have a much better time and a better advantage than just kind of going around the board and just collecting random cards with no real purpose. So let's talk about the theme of the game. Do you think that the theme ties into the mechanics of the game, or is this one of a game where you kind of just get lost from the theme and you're just trying to just pick up random cards in what you're doing? You know how some games they have a cool theme, but the theme gets lost because you're just trying to race to get the most victory points or something like that.
Yeah, I get it. I think the theme goes really well with it. Like I said, and kind of what we were already talking about, how you're focusing one or two. When you, let's say, were like, I don't know, a warrior or whatever, fighting the monster, you're gonna have your specialty or one or two specialties. So it kind of makes sense why like green or gray or a gray and purple specialty. And then like I already said, like when you're hitting a monster, you're gonna hit it on the backside, it's gonna turn around and hit you too, unless you knock it back or things like that if you hit it hard enough. So I think all of it really plays well into the game. And then like it's co-op, but at the same time we're going against each other. So I think that as well. The cards can affect you, they can affect your opponent, or like attacking the monster. So I thought the theme went really well, and then the card art themselves, the card art.
Yeah, the
Sorry,
card.
I didn't understand.
Siri
did not get me. But even like the card I can't talk now.
Card art.
The card art goes really well with each card. And then I know there's like a few, like in the blue deck, there's like a spectral card.
Yeah.
Or spectral? No, I can't talk anymore. But anyways, and like the power of that spectral really goes with like how a ghost would be or whatever, haunting the person. Like, I thought it was really good.
So last thing before I kind of give my final wrap-up synopsis is you talked about the card art and things like that. Let's kind of talk about the production. Now, obviously, this is a review copy, a demo copy, so there's some things here that are subject to change, but how do you feel so far about the vision here with the production, with the miniature, with the artwork on the cards, and kind of the presentation?
Well, I just noticed, actually, while we're videoing this, when you said districts, I noticed the different districts on the actual board. And I thought that was really cool. Like, it makes sense why the royal courts, the purple cards, are prestige versus the wilds is the strength and monsters and everything. So, no, I think it's really cool. I like it. I like the different colors of the cards. And I don't know if this is going to come with every game or what, but I think it looks awesome. They did a good job.
All right, so we heard Sierra's thoughts. She definitely loves the game. I'm just going to kind of wrap it up and bring everything and just kind of give my points, just highlighting some of the stuff you said. We're in agreement on a lot of things. I think for me, this is what I would call a refreshing deck builder. And, you know, a lot of deck builders are the same thing. You got your deck of cards, there's a market that's just in the middle of the table, and you're just playing cards and collecting cards from the market. Here, what's so refreshing about it is it brings in that competitive, that semi-co-op, that competitive, cooperative mode, and like moving around the board. There's not a lot of, and to my knowledge, I think the only other deck builder that does something like that is the DC deck building game. I think they came out with a expansion or version of that where you have like a little standee and you move around the board. Other than that, I don't know very many or if any deck builders do that at all. So sacrificing your cards to be able to move around the board, that adds a whole nother strategy mechanic to it as well. And like she said, with the 5 different districts, being able to verify your strategy, what we've kind of come up with is there's like 3 main strategies. I would say, in the game. The first one is just attacking the monster and trying to get all those prestige points. The second one is ignoring the monster and getting decks that allow you to generate more coins and buying cards, because I played it with a friend, and that's how I actually won. Is I didn't hit the monster at all, and I was just buying up all the expensive cards that were worth high prestige points, and I ended up winning the game because I had like 3 or 4 cards that were worth 5 victory points at the end of the game. So that is another strategy as well. And then you always have that middle strategy of you're trying to mid-max, right? Where you're trying to get cards and then you're trying to attack the boss at the same time. But there's so many different combinations here. The difficulty is very simple, very easy to pick up. Mark, you guys did a great job with the rule book. It was very self-explanatory and what we wanted to do. Replayability is high. Overall, this is just if you enjoy deck building and deck building games, I do really think that you're gonna enjoy this game right here. And of course, the miniature does come with the game, and Mark had also said that there is plans for other monsters to be in the middle as well. So that's going to really make this game more exciting, and that's what I would like to see. I would like to see more like different monsters with different interactions for you. Maybe something that's going to like hurt you more, like maybe they make you discard more cards from your deck or make you remove cards from your deck. I think that would be that'd be pretty cool with just the variability that you have there. But I feel like there's so much you can do with this game. But I mean, this is a great game, simple, very easy. Easy to get into. You play it the first time and you're like, oh man, I just grasped it and now I want to dive back into it. And so it's got a very high replayability. But again, that's what I got to say. We both share the same sentiment on this game. This is the City of Myrkesh, guys. We would rate this 1 out of 10. What would you rate this just with the early production and what you've given right now?
As a deck builder, it's probably one of my, I would say top deck builders. I'd say 8.
Yeah, that's what I would give it. I'd give it an 8 out of 10 just from our initial playthroughs and things like that. Yeah, we enjoyed it. It's great.
More monsters. That'll make it
yeah, more monsters. But yeah, all right, guys. Well, look, this is City of Myrkesh coming on Kickstarter October 24th. We'll go ahead and check the link in the description down below. You guys can take a look at it. We are definitely going to be back in this game. We enjoy it, so I'm excited to see all the stretch goals and things that are going to come with it and what is going to be offered. We just want to give a huge thank you to Mark for sending us this review copy and giving us opportunity to just try this awesome game. We do really enjoy deck builders so much. Alright guys, if you enjoyed this content, please go ahead and drop us a like, and you can help us out by subscribing to our channel if you are not already subscribed. Alright guys, y'all have a great one. Bye.
Bye.